Waikato Hospital's clinical director of patient safety emphatically denies household wooden spoons are being used in its operating theatres. A document released to Checkpoint under the Official Information Act revealed household sieves were being used in urology surgeries, wooden spoons in cardiac procedures and shaving blades for skin grafts and plastic surgery. The document states household spoons are used an average of 13 times a month. That's household spoons, and large wooden spoons an average of once a month. But Dr. Doug Stevenson, who's the Clinical Director for Quality and Patient Safety at the Waikato DHB, says no wooden spoons here. With increasing pressure on DHBs to meet targets, I asked him if this is a cost-saving exercise.
I've talked to people in theater, in sterilization, cardiac surgery, vascular surgery, orthopedic surgery. Nobody uses wooden spoons. So I guess we need to correct that to begin with. I know that it's on this list.
It's on the list we have that we've obtained under the Official Information Act, and it says large wooden spoon, cardiac, used to control hemorrhaging during ruptured AAAs.
It's exactly what it says. So let me clear that up to start with. When you have let me back up just a little bit further. I'm a general physician. I'm also the clinical director of quality and patient safety, and have the good fortune of being the acting chief medical officer today.
Right. Have you ever used a wooden spoon?
Not in surgery. No,
and not to discipline an unruly patient?
maybe. Yeah.
No,
what they do, John, is they do have a thing. Now, this is not going to be proper surgical terminology, but I would refer to it as a wooden wedge. Now, what this wooden wedge does is a very specific purpose. It's not used often, but it is in the sterile packaging specifically around ruptured aortic abdominal aneurysms. What can happen in those circumstances is, you get this big blood artery in your belly, and when that thing bursts, you're going to die very rapidly unless something very, very emergently occurs. So our very brave, I don't do it, I'm a physician, our very brave surgeons, get that open, get in there, and they actually take this wooden block or wooden wedge and insert it in to stop the blood flow. They have to use wood because metal is too harsh and it'll actually tear the aorta. So the wood is just pliable enough that it'll stop the blood flow, which allows them enough time to get the proper clamps and all those things in place.
So this is a life-saving procedure?
It is a life-saving procedure.
And wood is appropriate. So, in fact, if you were using a wooden spoon, that wouldn't actually be outrageous, would it?
Well, I just could never find anyone who's used a wooden spoon. It's possibly... It went from a wooden wedge. Now, metal spoons are used in surgery, no doubt, and it's not just in New Zealand.
In fact, average per month over 2014 to date, 13 household spoons have been used for the removal of bone debris during surgery or to spoon up bone granules.
Yeah, and I can actually go a little further than that. So we do have spoons of the proper grade metal for sterilization that the cardiac surgeons use. So when they're actually taking a needle through skin and the heart's just below that, instead of taking the needle into the heart, which you can see would not be ideal, they literally put a spoon in between the needle and the heart so that the needle will not penetrate into the pericardium, the sac around the heart.
Absolutely.
That absolutely is used, and different surgeons in different places and different specialties use that for a similar reason.
I guess,
but those are absolutely sterilizable.
Yeah,
Go
absolutely.
ahead, John. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. But I guess what we're talking to here is, and if we look at the list: household spoons, large wooden spoon that you've dealt with, domestic sieves, cultures, or shaving blades, mold vice grips. What I guess we're talking to is the financial pressure the Waikato DHB is under now. It's very difficult to clarify or explicitly get statement about how much pressure the Waikato DHB is under, but I understand it is considerable. Are you shopping at Bunnings or Briscoe's in order to save money?
No, John, let me say this. These things, as I learned today when I went and talked to my surgical colleagues, they've been using these for years. So this is nothing that has happened due to what you alluded to as far as the budget stress that's going on right now. These are ongoing things. Now, I will say this, and you're probably well aware of the initial information that came out last month that, in fact, some DHBs were going off-site and buying these things.
Absolutely. We saw that in Dunedin, right?
Exactly right. So I will say this. So interestingly, and again, I'm Clinical Director for Quality and Patient Safety, there were some things on this list that we weren't aware of. So there are a couple of things here that, frankly, are really – now, sterilizable gets to be an interesting conversation, but there are some things. If you're going to use a metal, it has to be a proper grade metal to be truly sterilized. It turned out some of the
we are talking here, if you are using them, we're talking about a quality spoon, aren't we? The kind of spoon that Queen Elizabeth might have alongside her cup of tea for stirring the Earl Grey.
John, that's a great example.
Right, okay.
So but it did lead to so some of these things actually they're gone. So when we discovered that in fact they are occasionally used, we realized that the metal may not reach that sterilization threshold. So it was good to get the list because some of these things had been going on for so long, people had just overlooked it.
Look, you're doing a very good job of addressing this, but and I want to push you on. And you are a man to comment on this. And I know, of course, you are in a master-servant relationship with the DHB and you don't want to bite the hand that feeds. But is the hand feeding enough?
That sounds like a setup, John.
Yeah. I mean, do you have the resources you need to purchase the stuff you need for theatre?
I believe, given these items, absolutely. I mean, if you look at, let's, for instance, take possibly a knee joint that's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars, it doesn't make a lot of sense to save $50 on going to Bunnings and buying a chisel as opposed to spending another $100 and buying a surgical grade chisel. So will both chisels work? Oh, absolutely. Do we sterilize them? Absolutely. But we want to confirm that anything we're using is sterilizable, which gets back to that proper grade metal. So no, these issues don't have anything to do with what's going on in the budget. So with these kinds of issues, absolutely not.
Okay, so you can reassure us on the radio that you are not penny pinching, buying domestic products that you wouldn't otherwise use because you don't have enough money to purchase proper surgical equipment.
Correct. Absolutely correct.
Dr. Doug Stevenson, Clinical Director, Waikato DHB.